The All Progressives Congress presidential candidates arrived the country home of President Muhammad Buhari in Daura, a few kilometers away from the state's capital, for the traditional Salah homage. President Muhammad Buhari receives the candidates of the party and his entourage. Although it is supposed to be the traditional Salah homage to the president, the APC presidential candidate, Senator Tinubu, announces his choice of a running mate and the reason behind his choice.
Well, we had a very good period of the season, this time of the year, and to really pay homage to him and then share part of his holiday and lunch, and equally discuss the question of my running mate, substantia. One of them withdraw today. I mean, the only one that was in place as a replacement withdraw today, and there'll be already an announcement to replace him fully with a substantive,
The substantive one.
Kashim Shetima. I have not discussed with him. I've disclosed it to you. Since I've disclosed it to the president.
No, that's...
Because he competent, capable, reliable, and able.
Beyond his choice of a running mate, Senator Tinubu highlights the plan of the party to address the challenges being faced by the country.
Because we are a progressive party, we have the focus on Nigeria problems. We faces the challenge squarely. We are not running away from it. We have a better program for the people and about the people and ready to serve. Within a short period of time, there'll be a good foundation on infrastructure. We face challenges of terrorism, we know that. It's only, a poor thinker and observer will not recognize the challenge. But once you recognize a challenge, you can prepare yourself very well to tackle it and defeat it.
With the announcement of Senator Kashim Shetima as the substantive running mate to Senator Bwala Tinubu, the All Progressives Congress appears set to tackle all other political parties for the #1 job come February 2023.
Welcome back. Well, yes, both gentlemen will be joining us to weigh in on this subject matter. Of course, you can always send your reactions to us while the program is on. We'll do what we can to get your voices heard. But what a scenario it's turning out to be the 2023 presidential elections, guys.
Absolutely. I know that this has been, given to speculations for quite some time. What will they be? What will they not be? And I usually tell people, just take a chill pill. You find out eventually. But now it's been unveiled, and as you said, it's happened now. There's been lots of reactions to this one. You heard the candidate saying it's a progressive party. This is meant to solve the problems of Nigeria, as it were. So this morning, we're analyzing all of that for you, not forgetting the responses we have gotten across board from those for it, against it, those undecided, those who aren't even looking at that side anyway. So it's a mix of different things. I'm particularly particularly looking forward to this conversation? Because as one of the dailies put it, it's how many years after, June 12? About
25.
25 or 29 years after June 12. So some have said the spirit of June 12 again is upon us, and the questions are, really?
Well, it's a candidate that said that actually in his speech.
Oh, there you go.
The spirit of June 12 is upon us.
So, big
Is
one,
it
definitely.
Really?
Well, and then it's interesting to
Okay.
also note that the candidate said he's just disclosing it, that the picked, the preferred running mate has not been notified himself. And that's, a surprise for me, because I can't forget too soon how the now picked running mate campaigned for the candidacy of the APC presidential candidate vehemently, on television, in fact, vociferously, to the extent that it seemed that he cast a bit of aspersion on, the other aspirants in the race.
I
So
think you're referring to Vice President
is it really
Yemi
just getting to know on national television?
And would you really say no to such?
Well, look, we read that some of last week, previously, how they had settled for him. So if he's just getting to know now, well, what can we say? Well, let's go over now to where the guests are. Markwe?
Chamberlain, indeed, that's what we're sinking our teeth into. We have with us Mr. Magaji, who is a former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. He is a member of the PDP right now and also the director, Sahelian Center for Leadership and Development. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Barakade Salah to you.
Barakade Salah to you. Thank you so
We're able
much.
to drag you out this beautiful
It's the season now. Yeah? So,
Salah holiday.
absolutely.
And then we also have with us Mr. Daniel Bwala, who is a barrister at Lincoln's Inn, London, and also a political analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you.
Well, so for some people, this is no surprise. Immediately, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was able to pick his party's ticket as the front runner for the party, as the presidential candidate for his party. The next question became running mate, and then we saw the controversy break loose. And there was a lot of talk around Muslim ticket, and there was a lot of talk around, just how to break it down. Yeah. But eventually, after weeks of suspense, this is what we have now been, revealed to see. I mean, we've been led to see. Did this come as any surprise to either of you? Let me start from you, Mr. Muazu.
Well, honestly, I am not surprised because the calculations of winning in the APC, it's a very difficult one without the Muslim ticket. Technically speaking, a lot of the opinion in the party is to try and get a credible, popular, and winnable vice presidential candidate from the North who is a Christian. For the simple reason of the sentiments and emotions that are attached to politics in Nigeria, and also the very near split that the country is basically set up right from formation. I think a lot of work has gone into that search. A lot of dynamics, a lot of permutations, a lot of comparison were done. At the end of the day, I think the candidate himself decided to bite the bullet. And if you look at the other candidates, and if you compare the combination of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a Muslim from the south, and a Christian from the north, the mathematics hardly add up. A lot of work needs to be done, and it's a game of chance. So the probability of winning, because politics is about winning, it's higher with a Muslim ticket, especially if you look at the other major opposition party have a Muslim from the north, so you want to kind of encroach into his territory and take a large chunk of the vote. So it's almost an inevitable reality, but it's a very difficult decision to take. I must say, it's been looked at very critically, and it's now up to Nigerians to look at the ticket. The candidate has given his reasons why he has put a Muslim on the ticket, and a lot of Nigerians, some have actually protested, some have resigned their positions, but you will get reactions irrespective of how he actually proceeds. But I hope that we will end up with a peaceful transition, irrespective of the choice of Nigerians, because there is consequence on this decision, whichever way Tinubu decides.
Well, it's been a pretty tough choice for almost all of the presidential candidates, it would seem. This particular election seems to be particularly problematic. I don't know why. If you look at the decision for the PDP candidate, even the Labour Party just announced his candidate without much controversy, thankfully, on Friday here. But that of the APC and the PDP has proved particularly problematic. Do you think that this has gone down well for the APC from what you have seen?
Well, I don't think that decision, so to speak, is a good news to APC. And I will respectfully differ from my senior brother here by giving you a scenario very similar to this, but the party chose to do the right thing. In 2014, the party was very desperate to win election. President Muhammadu Buhari, then General Muhammadu Buhari, was to choose a vice presidential candidate. And at the time, Bwala Tinubu was the strongest and most influential politician in the party who brought a lot to the table. And there was this idea that President Buhari, then General Buhari, and Asiwaju were to fly the ticket together. Now, that was a situation where, let's say, General Buhari was to make a decision based on fear. That, look, if I don't pick Asiwaju, we are not likely to win, because that was the threat at the time. But President Buhari was reported to have stood his position and maintained that that is not right. Muslim ticket or Christian ticket is not good for the country at this moment. And he chose the other way. As a matter of fact, he told Asiwaju to bring a candidate. Funny enough, to again differ with what my senior brother here said about winning, and that the northern voters, they are very probably sentimental about that. The choice of Professor Yemi Osibanjo at the time was to be interpreted as spelling doom for Buhari, because Professor Yemi at the time was not an active politician. In fact, he was reported to have said he was even planning to appear in Supreme Court the next day. For a matter, a pastor, a non-active politician, and from the Southwest, where President Buhari needed the votes in the first place to win, because all through these years he's been contesting, he has always had his votes from the North. He badly needed the vote from the South. He chose the right thing. Eisenhower said, any political party that does not have its policy rooted in the understanding of advancing a cause that is right and that is moral, that political party is not a political party, but merely a conspiracy to seize power. You see, at every given time in political history, you need to make a decision on what is right. Now, in this scenario, I give you an instance. The myth behind the need to choose a Muslim candidate is that if you don't do that, the northern Muslim voters will not vote for that candidate. That is a creation or a notion that exists in the imagination of politicians who have interests, but it does not resonate with the conviction of the voters. Because historically, from 1999 till today, nobody has won election without the support and the vote of the northern voters, and especially the northern Muslim voters. They chose Jonathan over Buhari in 2011. They chose Jonathan over Atiku in 2011. If they were choosing along religious lines, they would have gone for either of these two. They have the northern voters vote on the basis of political party conviction or interest. The idea that they are being roped into saying that they will not vote if you choose a vice presidential candidate who is a Christian is a creation of the imagination of politicians who particularly have interest in this game, but not necessarily a reflection of the votes of the people. Otherwise, the Islamic clerics, if you look at last week, they have cautioned against a same faith-based ticket. If you look at the newspaper last week throughout Thursday, 75% of the newspaper tore along the same line. Prominent members of the government also advise that you have to balance the ticket. Now, even political parties that we consider mushroom, they are balancing the ticket. So
you have resigned your membership of the All Progressives Congress based on this.
Yeah.
Why have you done that?
Well, principally my participation and activities in APC has always been that of projecting and defending the interests of the party. So one way or the other, if I stay in the party, I will be confronted with having to make a comment one way or the other and to defend that. And since it's a conviction that I have, and I feel that that runs against the principle that I hold so dear, and especially at this time of our national life where we should be moving towards uniting our people. If I stay in the party, then I will be like agitators in a political party. And what I do is I give my all in everything I do. And that's why those who have seen how, and let me even say something that is very intriguing, because somebody in our party was saying that, don't you think this is bigotry? I say, if this is bigotry, can you help interpret one fact? That I chose to support Asiwaju over Professor Yemi Osinbajo in the primaries. And Professor Yemi Osinbajo is a pastor, is a Christian, just like me. But I chose to support him. And I chose to support him over other Christians in the political party because it is purely on the basis of performance principle and all. But when you come to the national sphere, a governing party must be a party that will lead by example. And when they took that decision, I felt I should do the honorable thing. Rather than becoming a cry baby, let me just resign from the party. And I'm happy with my decision.
Well, there has been a lot of, will I say, opinion and articles on this particular issue, the running mate. And one of the most interesting that I have seen was the article written by Mr. Azu Ishekwene, who is the editor of Leadership Newspapers, editor-in-chief. Did you see that article? I do not know if you had a chance to look at it. It talked about how the running mate has become an albatross to the APC. Did you see the article?
Yes.
Did you see the article?
No.
Just, just check in. And
Right.
quite a number of things that he said in that article. And part of it is that, he says the choice of a running mate has become even more difficult for the presidential candidate of the APC because of how the current president has managed the religious differences in the country.
Oh, I see.
He said, let me read verbatim what he said. He says, let me be clear, Buhari did not introduce identity politics into the country, nor is identity politics a peculiarly Nigerian thing. On his watch in the last 7 years, however, ethnic and religious politics have taken on a salience and frequency hardly experienced before or even thought likely.
Right.
He also, it's a pretty extensive article, but essentially argues that the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress did not have a chance if he picked a Christian as his running mate as vice president. It was going to be a really tough decision for the APC if they had gone down the route of picking a Christian vice presidential candidate.
In other words, they choose politics over unity. That's what it means. You see, after the Civil War in 1969, in 1970, there was this national objective that was formulated. The idea behind that was to bring Nigerians into one nation and build a nation with shared prosperity. Some of the concepts in the national objective is inclusivity, it is tolerance, it is self-reliance, it is common prosperity, and diversity. Diversity.
So the question I'm going to ask you is, do you think that northern Muslims, which is the question, you have argued that they vote along interests, etc.
Right.
But do you think that in the ticket, assuming Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had picked a vice presidential candidate who was Christian, do you think that they would have seen themselves represented on his ticket?
Yes, because what they do is they look at political party interests. They do not particularly vote along religious lines. It's the myth that politicians use. You see, it is the anti-objective of Sardona of Sokoto, Sir Ahmadu Bello. Because Sir Ahmadu Bello was the one that founded the philosophy of the northernization. That philosophy is hinged on the belief that if you are from the north by origin, irrespective of your religion or tribe, you are one north. So they would have considered that Christian candidate as a northerner and not as a Christian northerner. And historically, by their votes, they approved it.
This is in spite of all that has been going on in the north in the last couple of years and the extensive divisions that have flared up,
Right.
and the suspicion that now currently reigns between northern Christians and northern Muslims. I'm sure you must have seen a lot of the controversy from farmer herders crisis to the plots to take over land, etc., etc.
Right.
Do you think that still remains as people still seeing themselves as northerners?
I honestly believe, and let me tell you, people don't vote because of the vice president. Look at, I gave you an example of Professor Yemi Osinbajo. If we are to go by that, then APC will not have won the election in 2015. Because he was a zero politician at the time.
Okay, let me come to Mr. Mwazo now. this certainly, I mean, people like, there are lots of people. He is representative of a class of people who are certainly going to be feeling very offended by this selection.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be, for a number of people, they believe it's going to even drive a wedge of suspicion even deeper. The APC had a problem when it was coming in 2014. Part of the campaign against it was that it was a Muslim party. And it would seem that it is entrenching that right now with the choice of a vice presidential candidate who is a Muslim as well. And now you now have a Muslim ticket. How do you think that they could sell this to the Christian minority in the North and to the majority of Christians in the South?
Well, I honestly, listening to my younger brother here, I feel there's a serious issue here. I mean, I read his resignation, and I said to myself, look, this is a double-edged sword. APC, whatever you do today, it's already a party that have a lot of liabilities. Politically, in terms of governance, in terms of program, in terms of deliveries, and then add to this very complicated decision-making. I really feel for the APC candidate, Bwala Tinubu. In fact, when Barrister here is saying that Osibanjo was picked as a running mate, I mean, remember, at that time it was Tinubu's that was put forward. But then Tinubu also conceded and brought in. So there was actually almost a double advantage then of having Tinubu and Osibanjo in one as vice presidential decision making, all bought into the decision. That's an added advantage. It's not the same here. Now, the big problem now is, I sincerely believe APC is in a very deep problem here. And in some way, believe me, I moved out of APC quite a few months back, and the opposition parties have been looking forward to this crisis. They've been looking forward to this because in one way or the other, it's going to affect the fortune of the party. Now, to further show how deeply this has become, you've just highlighted the editorial of leadership. The leadership of APC after 7.5 years now has not done anything, has not done much. On the contrary, actually, has caused a lot more division in the polity than the unity you was talking about. The style of Ahmadu Bello's leadership is completely different from what we have witnessed in the last 7 or so years.
Very true.
Because honestly, the North he was talking about is a North that we as young kids grew up going to Christmas party in people's home, and we're receiving our Christian brothers in during Salah. Like this season, they come in, we eat ram together, and during Christmas we go and celebrate. And you know, most of the quarters around where, you know, Christians reside are places where we go and get some freedom to play. You know, it's like, it's a little more liberal than the conservative society and house that we are all brought up. This brotherhood, I have a huge number of friends that are from the East, from the West. They've grown up either in the railway quarters or in the barrack. You know, it's like, we honestly, even Northern Christian community, we honestly do not identify very well as you're a Christian, I'm a Muslim. The problem is politics are our interest. And honestly, religion has also become politicized. It's part of the game now. Ordinary people are struggling to survive. Christians, Muslims are all in this very difficult situation that APC has put the country into. So that is number one problem, that after all this problem of who is running mate, Christian, Muslim, that the candidate will have to come and face the people and say, look, you designed this merger and you promised us it's going to be a progressive social justice platform. Now, I had Asuaju unfolding his running mate and making speeches as if it was the inaugural speech of Muhammadu Buhari 7 years ago, making exactly the same promises, progressive social changes. The word change keep repeating in his words, as if the party has not ruled this country for 7.5 years. So for me, the greatest challenge here will be, honestly, like you said, the Muslim North will go beyond this issue of religion and look at the performance of APC. And APC is going to be punished. I can tell you this, because honestly speaking, the expectation and the promises are not in tandem at all. And
this is regardless of whether or not they try to bribe with a Muslim vice presidential
that is the
candidate.
correct word. The correct word is you've taken a president from the North who is a Muslim, and you promised to bring succor to the masses, and you haven't done that. And now you're going behind religion, bringing in a running mate that is a Muslim and a candidate that is a Muslim. And when I started, I said this country is divided. And we were formed this way. And there's something he mentioned about the Islamic clerics that are preaching. You see, in Islam, when it comes to leadership, religion is not part of the equation. It is equity, it is justice, it is fairness that is in the equation. There is no way an Islamic society will embrace a Muslim tyrant leader over a non-Muslim just leader. Yeah. This is not how Islam defined leadership, because leadership is a collective responsibility on humanity. Religion is your relationship with God. But when you are given responsibility over people, especially in a diverse society like Nigeria, then you have a responsibility to be fair and equitable to all. And not only that, you must assuage fear. This fear that there is going to be domination will basically catalyze some level of friction within the society. And the reason is actually the editorial is saying that there were no measures taken to show that we are equal, we are the same under the law, and in terms of the way the APC as a party ruled, it did not bridge these gaps. If it had done that, probably we would be talking about this too much.
Yeah. Let's flip to Lagos now. I know my colleagues have questions. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah, Mr. Bwala, let me ask you, I know you've gone through the speech by the APC presidential flag bearer, but if you look at paragraph 27, where perhaps you're speaking to persons like you, he says, may I say to all of you, especially to those who will be disappointed in my selection based on religious considerations, I will not and cannot ignore the religious concerns and ethnic sensitivities of our people. Towards the latter part of that paragraph, it says, to forge ahead as a nation toward development and prosperity, we must break free from old binds. We must recalibrate our political calculations to where competence and fairness matter more than reductive demographics. How does this resonate with you?
Is that me?
Yes, Mr. Bwala.
Right. So I read his speech. Quite frankly, this that you read, or the clause that you read, I didn't find that as a justifying one. And of course, everyone in the country knows how I invested in the project to push for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even at the risk of my life, when I made a decision to support him. And it was purely on the basis of principles. I believe he was structurally a party man. But the idea that you know the frustration of people, but you promise you will make it up. You know, there can never be a time. Do you now go in the campaign and then do the replacement? The highest you can do between now and June, at July 16, you know, which is the window you have to do this replacement of vice presidential candidate, which I don't think it is going to happen, you know. So, I am really, honestly, I feel so bad because this might cost APC the presidential ticket, quite frankly. I have had calls from my Muslim brothers who expressed the same disappointment. And I am really sad that oftentimes politicians use the masses in the North to project their interests as if the voters in the North, only religion is what guides them. They have been involved in electing people from the South, Christians from the South. And if you want to know a set of people who know how to play politics, I am telling you, it's the Northerners. If IPOB today is registered as a legal political party, You must see a northern candidate in the National Working Committee. He will either vie for secretaryship or the chairman of the party. This is their understanding of politics. But politicians, because of, and look at it, some of the politicians who push for this were not considered in the final choice of the running mate. There is another problem altogether. How will he manage them? That is one. When you talk about the generality of the Nigerian people, I don't think this decision is going to resonate with them. And in life, this is the first decision that our candidate of APC, now I have to say the candidate of APC, was confronted with. That decision defines your presidency. When you make a wrong decision at the beginning, you cannot convince people that your subsequent decision is going to be right. You see, Atiku Abubakar of PDP was also confronted with that. It was a popular idea that he chose Wiki. Now, he chose Okowa on principles. They have their own issues at the party. But you can see how everybody is now coming down to the realization that it was a choice that was for stability and for unity. As a country, everything we do must be guided by this consideration of the national objective. We need to bring people together. A united Nigeria is a prosperous Nigeria. A united Nigeria is a Nigeria of inclusivity. It's a Nigeria of inclusiveness. It's a Nigeria that understands diversity, and we have shared prosperity along this line. And a political party must lead by example. We are the ones that are supposed to be comfortable in making that decision. Because look at political parties that are desperate, they still balance the ticket. Why is it that conventionally people have consistently balanced this ticket along the way? Because people understood that even though there is no specific mention of that in the Constitution, but that is a true reflection of the spirit and intent of the Constitution. Why is it equity and fairness? Why is it that when the party chairman said that the party has taken a decision and it's going to be Ahmed Lawal, the governors who often preach that the party is supreme decided to save the party by saying, no, it's not going to happen like that. We have made a determination that we are zoning it should be zoned to the south for equity.
Well, Mr. Bwala.
So that means equity is fundamental. And sometimes,
pardon me,
sometimes it's not just winning.
Okay.
You have to win right.
Right. You know, the natural question then would be, now that you have resigned from the APC, which will be shocking to a lot of people, really, because, as you said, they know what you have done within that party. Where will the next destination be for you? Will it be the PDP? You've talked about the PDP. Will it be the Labour Party or NNPP? That's usually the natural question. So if you could quickly respond to that before I ask my next question.
Channels TV political party is my next destination. You know,
we don't want you, Mr. Bwala.
I'm
sorry. We're not registered and we don't want you in it. Well, go ahead, please.
No, I'm just by the side. But you don't make a decision so hastily. I ordinarily, were it not for this decision that has been made, you may not probably have heard that I resigned. So you cannot just tomorrow morning and you switch to another political party. But we're going to be involved in nation building. We're going to be involved in the conversation along the line of unity, along the line of shared prosperity. And I am really going to be involved in the engagement in the North that will bring back the philosophy of Sardona, because I'm really concerned that how the North suddenly is getting fragmented. Okay. You see agitation in the middle belt.
Well, Mr.
You see people, minorities in the North getting, feeling somehow.
Right. I think the point has been made.
Bello, who instituted this foundation,
again, I need to come in,
maintain a very
Bwala.
strong Northern Nigeria that even the British government reckon with that.
Right. Let me take this to Mr. Magaji quickly and ask you quickly. So this decision has been made, and the candidate gave reasons saying that, you know what, this was essentially to compose the best team possible to forever establish just, capable, and compassionate governance. But it would seem both of you think that this is the wrong choice, especially seeing how far we have come, especially under the APC in terms of uniting Nigerians, the divisions and all of that. But you'd expect that these are people that should understand the problems of the nation. They should know where the people hurt, the pains of our nation, Nigeria. So if you could do this in a minute, why then will the candidate, or at least the party that you expect knows the challenges of our nation, go that route against reason, some might say?
I think it's politics. It's all about interest. I think somehow I have said at the beginning that there are many permutations, there are many scenarios that APC played around with. I'm a bit aware of some of the dynamics of decision making there because I still have some of my friends there. And I keep advising them that be very careful, this is your double-edged sword. At the end of the day, I think they are playing games. The word bribe is very appropriate here. By picking a Muslim northerner, they're playing sentimental politics. Honestly, I think they believe that they can woo northern Muslims and then keep the southern Muslims, and then because Tinubu is from the south, Christians from the south will feel comfortable. So there is aggregation of number in terms of the perception of how this will come out. But I honestly think it can go the other way as well, because a lot of noise will come out of this. I mean, the individuals aside, the individuals are competent. He has used the word competent, he has used the word balanced team, he has used the word loyalty and commitment. I know Kashim Shettima is very committed gentleman. The problem is that politics is about balancing interests. And if you don't balance interests, then you have a skewed platform. If you continue on that path, the geometric outcome of that decision, we do not know how it will unfold. And we do not know the magnitude of the outcome and how to manage it going further. So you could take just one step in politics. Like I always said, it's only in engineering that action and reaction are equal and opposite. In politics, they are opposite, but they are never equal. It comes in substantial, lot more measures. So I will say that the decision has been taken. A lot of explanation, a lot of assuasion, a lot of cajoling need to be done. My brother here just left the APC. I hope they can reach him out. He's a very important member of the party. We need stability. We need to convince our brothers that we are not out to divide the country. But you see, the problem is these same promises were made by the APC. I was a member of the party. And like he just left, I left because I also convinced myself that I don't think I read the inaugural speech of the party and I look at our performance dashboard today, I can convincingly go back to the people and say, please, now the candidate is different. It's not based on candidate alone. And that was the mistake we made in 2015. The candidate can be as good as anything, but the platform, the people, the ideological inclination of the party, it's important. For now, APC, I think, has lost it. It was an experiment of change. It hasn't happened. It was an association of common interest that came together, and they have not been able to fuse into a political ideological
Let me quickly
platform.
come in there. I'd like to take you to Mr. Bwala. I wasn't quite clear in your analysis about whether a Christian from the north will be adequate compensation for the concern of the interest groups who were clamoring for a ticket of different faiths. Would it have been, is that what you're saying, that it would be adequate compensation, or on the contrary, it has to be a Christian from the south that would have been, that would have reflected the unity that the country is yearning for?
So this is not about compensation. This is about doing the right thing. This is about understanding the diversity of Nigeria. This is about understanding the people. This is about playing your part in promoting national unity. This is about coming close to the ideals of the Constitution. And this is about conviction. APC as a political party had faced this same thing in 2014, decided on the right path. Destiny and providence proved them right, and they won and defeated Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. APC is confronted after many years with this same fact, and in fact, that decision is suggestive of what my elder brother said, of wanting to bribe the people because you did not or could not prove that you have done much to convince the people that your ideals and promises were fulfilled. So taking a Christian vice presidential candidate is communicating the message of unity to Nigerians, that we are diverse, but we recognize our diversity, and in all of our engagement, we carry that to there, because that way, we will convince our people that we are moving towards a one Nigeria. Now, I am not suggesting that if you take a Christian vice presidential candidate, you must win. because ultimately the decision of who wins is the voters that will make. And between when you choose the candidate to when people finally go to election, so many things happen. But you must come to a point in your life, either individually or as a corporate entity, to tell yourself, bring this ideal principle as graciously expounded by Eisenhower. Any political party that does not have in its very core an understanding of advancing a cause that is right and that is moral, that one is not a political party. It is merely a conspiracy to seize power. I have heard a lot of argument. People will say, our concern is just the vote. It's just the vote. We don't care about anything. It's just the vote. Now, when you say your concern is just the vote, you don't care about doing the right thing or leading in the right direction, can you contrast that, or can you apply that to our present-day life, where we're often faced with the decision that we will make for popularity, but it does not all go down well with the ideals of the people? For example, there was a time they wanted to introduce gay rights in Nigeria. The Society of Nigeria, guided by the Constitution, felt that wasn't the right thing. But that was what the Americans considered as the right thing. And the people tore in the direction of the conviction of the commonality of the Nigerian people and were able to stand. If you look at the division in the country today, so much division and so much fear, the fault lines are increasing. When you get the opportunity to be the governing party, it behoves of you. You see, it is not just opportunities, there are also responsibility in life. You don't just take the benefit, and when duty calls, you fail to do what is the right thing. That is why I believe that this is going to cause...
What would you say to those who say that you're making an emotional decision?
Right. So they will have...
This is not a decision that is made based on available data, because sometimes we hear political parties do their polls before they make these decisions.
Right. So my decision, and it's a very good question, based emotional as against available data. Now, if I was to wait for any data analysis to say, generality of APC, are you supporting that, yea or no, and then take decision, that means even then, my decision now will be based on what the general people are saying. I'm saying that my decision is purely based on conviction. I have expressed this opinion. This is not today. So how do you then bring emotion when almost close to a month ago, I expressed that on Channels Television, and I felt that that is not the true reflection of what a political party should do. It is well thought out. It is a matter of watching to see whether the political party will do the right thing. And by the time they took a decision that ran against my conviction, and let me even tell you, Maupe, and this is very important.
Out of time.
No, just 1 minute. You will appreciate that. You will appreciate that. Because somebody called and then celebrated me for that. You see, like you said, out of emotion, there are people who might even think this edition because he felt he would not benefit. I have had a sitting with the flag bearer before the primaries in his car, the privilege that many governors didn't have, where he personally promised me a role he wanted me to play, which will be a role that everybody in APC will celebrate. Everything is lined up for me as a reward. But it's not about that, it's about conviction.
Well, we'll see. The coming days, will be very telling. But how do you think that I don't know whether you're the right person to ask questions.
Let me say this.
Yes, so
this is very important at this point to say that we are getting excessively, aggravated by this. But this is the issue. The choice before Nigerians is more than APC. We should count ourselves lucky. 2023 present very, very good quality of people that are on the top of this ticket. All the 4 major political parties that I can think of, and even the other party, SDP, NRM, I know quite a number of the young people that are contesting. Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, Atiku Abubakar, Bwala, Tinubu, anybody will do better than today's administration. However, the issue is there is a yearning for change. There is a yearning for change. And Atiku Abubakar has plugged into that, but Peter Obi plugged into that better. And Kwankwaso is mining that as well in the north. So I can tell you something. APC can continue this argument. Before they know it, momentum will shift against the party. There is a record to put them on a scale already, and they are making this decision that complicate our politics.
Well, they will
Peter
say
Obi is doing a lot. I left the party.
You can speak because you look like a member of the party.
But I'm talking about Peter Obi here.
Indeed.
Peter Obi is not in my party, but look at the momentum he's speaking.
Indeed.
I'm telling you, there are choices before Nigerians beyond APC today. And I can tell you, we will not wait for APC to clean up their mess. It's a cross they have to carry, and Nigerians will go out and vote. And I am very sure new voters are coming on, and it's going to surprise people by 2023.
It will be interesting to see just how events pan out and whether there'll be further. We've seen the first set of reactions and how the APC is able to manage this in the face of that. But you're certainly right that the people certainly have more than the APC as the choice if that's how they choose to go. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and sharing your thoughts this morning. Mr. Muazu Magaji is a former member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. He's currently a member of the PDP and also the director of the Sahelian Center for Leadership and Development. And we've also been speaking with Mr. Daniel Bwala, who is a barrister at Lincoln's in London.
And a former member.
A former member of the APC.
Oh, no,
and also
APC.
political analyst. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily as well.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
We take a break at this point, and we'll be talking about something that affects us all. Yes, politics does, but there's something more immediate and pressing than politics. In just a moment, please stay with us.